He started limping from one to the other day. So 50% of the bone was gone. But I wasn't prepared that the bone is dying. The doctor said, okay, we need to stop him from all movements.
All movements.
That means a wheelchair. From one to the other day, you have two babies again. I can't change it, but I can make it positive for my son. How he will remember in his life, that's on me now.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of In Motherhood, where every mama has a story that matters. We have here today Nini, whose young son was diagnosed with a degenerative disease. And in that moment, her journey really began in grief. Nini, before everything shifted, what was life like with you, with your son?
I think like all lives, it was an active life. It was a crazy life. I have 4 boys at home, actually.
Four boys.
Yeah, it was crazy. They're all active. They love soccer. They love tennis. They love swimming. There was always action in our house. Yeah, the kids are between 4 and 13 right now. They love soccer. And it was quite easy for us because if you just throw out a ball, they all were playing ball. Yeah, always giving 180% per day, actually.
And how does this picture now change since finding out?
So my third boy at that point, so 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, was 6 years at that time. He was diagnosed with Purse disease. Purse disease means that the hip bone died, actually. So this ball, what is sitting into the hip, it died. It's barely, but it's 1 to 3 of 100,000.
How did this show up in everyday life?
He started limping from one to the other day. I was like, yeah, it will be fine as he is so active. Maybe there happened something on the playground in school or maybe at soccer and I didn't realize. So I will always remember the day because on that day we went to Lakavi in the morning. We had a really early plane to catch and it was six something. We were rushing to the airport like it is in families, like, oh my God, hurry up, we have to catch that flight. And he limped. And I was like, oh, come on, hurry, what happened? And he was like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, do you have any pain? No, I don't have any pain. But over the weekend, it was worse, actually. And we were like, oh, is something in pain? And at the beginning, he always said no. But as a mom, you sometimes feel, even if I was at the beginning like, oh, it won't be something serious and whatever, I felt I have to go to the doctor. I have to at least check. It was something, in me who said, okay, let's check it, because I didn't know what's wrong. I couldn't see anything from the outside. He was not really complaining about any pain somewhere, but was walking really awkward. When I got the diagnosis, actually, from the orthopedist where we have been, that was awful. He got the picture of the x-ray and then he saw that half of the hip bone was gone already. And then he showed me the picture and told me, yes, this is Purse disease, and this is this, and this is this. So I think 5-10 sentences in a row, and it was like my tears. I started to cry directly.
Such a heartbreak.
I never heard about that, and I was not prepared.
I've never heard about it either.
Not at all, right? And I thought maybe maybe something happened to soccer or whatever, but I wasn't prepared that the bone is dying, and I didn't know what it is. And then, as English is not my main language, and there was this doctor with no empathy, I have to say, at all, who just rushed through it, showed me the picture, said the diagnosis. I was totally heartbreaking. I was alone. My husband was on a trip in Germany because we both were not prepared to get a diagnosis like that.
Nobody would be prepared for this.
Absolutely. My son was just sitting next to me, 6 years old, as I just said. Didn't even realize, I think, what the doctor saw. Just realized me then starting to get tears in my eyes, actually. The doctor just said 2 minutes, explained me a little bit about it, showed me the screen, the laptop screen actually, said, oh, you can take a screenshot if you can't remember when you're going home. Any further question? And I was like, okay, what does it mean that the bone is not there anymore? And he didn't say anything about that.
The bone is not there anymore?
No, so 50% of the bone was gone. Or it is still gone, actually. But at that moment, and I never had heard about that. And I was like, okay, it just took a picture with my mobile phone. And he said, okay.
It will never grow.
At that stage, I didn't know at all what that means for us, actually. And then I took the screenshot and I cannot even remember my way home or whatever. Really, I was like, I think totally shocked. I tried to keep when we went out to keep a smile for my son. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and then you start Googling, but that's the worst case, right? If you have something and you're sick or whatever, Google is always maybe not the best doctor to ask, right? I started Googling to figure out what it is and whatever. But then we asked friends where we can go in Singapore for kids and whatever. And then we got a really nice doctor, I have to say. But there was a third doctor, I think, a week later then.
Good to know there is a nice doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. And he took the time. Even he said it's new for him. He doesn't have a lot of kids here in Asia because it's more common in the Western countries, this sickness.
And how did you adapt to the news? How did that first few weeks and months look like for you?
So the first weeks were like just a shock, more or less a shock. And we didn't really know what that means.
Survival mode.
Absolutely, absolutely. You try like to keep a smile on your face, but you do not really know what that now means.
It's so hard to keep a smile on your face.
He was not allowed to do any sports. So no running, no jumping or whatever. To have a 6 years old and he didn't have any pain. He was limping, but there was no pain. And then tell him, okay, but you're not allowed to run. You're not allowed to do this. It's at a really worse stage of the sickness at that moment. And a lot of the hip bone died without having us realized at that point.
Now that you know about this disease, is there a way to detect it earlier?
Maybe, yes. So there are people who really realize it quite early, but we not at all. He was really a child, was 180% doing so many different sports and whatever. And we never realized until that day he started limping, actually. So, and we spoke to lots of friends and trainers and whatever, and they were all like kind of shocked like us because he was always one of the fastest, one of the quickest, with the most energy, always playing up soccer already in different age group because of the two big brothers. No one really realized that there is something going on, actually.
And that really brings such a deep contrast to then you were sharing that he couldn't walk for a while.
The doctor said, okay, we need to stop him from all movements.
All movements.
All movements, but movements with the hip, with the legs, so that the hip is not more destroyed by the
Okay.
bone from the top, actually, to don't put any pressure on the hip bone. And that means a wheelchair. And I think that was the biggest change.
And coming back to you as his mother, what feelings came up the most for you? And did you see yourself differently as a mother during this period?
As I said, I was a mom of 4. The smallest one was at that point 2 years old. So still like a baby in a stroller sometimes, carrying around or whatever. And that wasn't possible at all anymore because now from one to the other day, you have 2 babies again, right? Because the one who can't really walk, who really needs 100% of you. So he learned quite quickly, okay, I can't go in the stroller anymore. So sometimes if he could
Your
walk,
2-year-old?
the 2 years old, and sometimes if he couldn't walk anymore, just put him with him in the wheelchair, for example. No? And the older ones at that point, 9, 10 years old actually, they had to help a lot. So it changed not just for me, it changed for the whole family. There was a lot of changing and a lot of learning.
And what about the people around you? I'm sure they were also, they were used to seeing him as this amazing 6-year-old, 180%, playing soccer and really performing really well. How did they react to this?
So at the beginning, I think all the people ask, right, if you come up with a wheelchair suddenly, because there was no cast or whatever on his leg, right? No one saw something is wrong with him. And so every person that you see on the street or whatever, everything you know in school or whatever, they come on and keep on asking. And I totally understand that, right? So, but as I said, I didn't had any answers. I had the diagnosis, but I didn't know what that means for.
And it's common for people to think, okay, you're a boy, you fell down, you got injured. But most people would just assume that it's a temporary.
Absolutely. I think it's not that they think it's bad or whatever, right? So they keep, oh, what happened to you? Oh, you played soccer or whatever. He was always like, Mom, can they stop asking me, right? I don't want to tell anyone. Can you answer for me? But sometimes you just get tired of it, or you're not ready yet to share it.
And you're living in Singapore and you have all these aunties and uncles going, ah boy, ah boy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What happened? What happened?
Yeah. And they all touched him, right? And they were like, and sometimes you don't want to be rude, right? He said to me at one point, no, Mom, I don't want to tell them anymore, right? They all keep on asking. We couldn't explain to him, right?
So I cannot imagine for you in the gravity of this situation, how it must all feel like for you, all the emotions and, the feelings that comes up the most for you as well. But as time has passed, Nini, you mentioned that you have such a better look, you've adapted well, and you have a positive outlook even. Tell us more about that.
It was hard.
It's 2 years now.
It's 2 years, yeah. It's a little bit longer than 2 years now. And he was in a wheelchair for almost 1.5 years.
That's a long time. I mean, for someone who has only lived 6 years and then having to do 1 year, it's almost like a lifetime for him.
Absolutely. But for me, it was like at the beginning, it was a bit of a meltdown. You don't know what's going on. But then quickly you figure out a little bit and you get over it and okay, I have to accept it now how it is. I can't change it, but I can make it positive for my son, actually. That was really, came up for me at one point. I was like, okay, because my son is 6 years old. It's a big deal for us now as a family, but how he will remember in his life, that's on me now. I can change it. He will remember that he will be in a wheelchair, maybe because it's a big impact. But if he will remember that positive or negative or just barely, that's on me now. So let's try to get the best out of it.
I love that. That's such a spin on things, looking at the cup half full type of mentality, and you have that in you. There must have been moments you look at other children and then you just lament and you're like, my son is going through this and the other children is walking and laughing around. Have you ever felt that?
Almost daily. Birthday parties, a sports fest in school, just my other kids who just played ongoing soccer and whatever, having games and whatever. And he had to watch them from one to the other day.
And playgrounds will take
Playgrounds, we couldn't go on playgrounds at the beginning, right? Sometimes if there was a nice swing or whatever for 5 or 10 minutes, but with a 6 years old, they're like climbing, running around. So we passed the playgrounds, for example. No, because they're like, okay.
So you skip it altogether?
We just skipped it, actually. We jumping holes and stuff like that.
And your other boys understood?
I think for the younger one, it was sometimes hard. 2-3 years old at that point to just why we can't go, actually, or just for 5 minutes and then leave again. But I think the older ones, they accepted quite well. And they could go, right? They are older, but they learn quite well, okay, we can't do it with our brother together because we explained to him, nah, it's hard to watch him. I cannot sit there with him in the wheelchair watching you guys, right? That's not possible. So we did a lot of other things. So we figured out things like that just work their way. So we went to this time zone here in Singapore, for example. Or we went bowling, for example, where you could just stand and roll the ball. We went a lot of times to the cinema, what we barely have done before, right? So we really tried to do stuff. And these are things where he could do it, right? He could do it in a wheelchair. Now? It changed again, yeah. We have
so you can go to the playground now.
Because he's like, it's not gone yet. As I just said, it's 2 years. But the bone is growing back, so that means it's harder now. No crutches, no wheelchair.
So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. A little bit light at the end of the tunnel. There still can be an operation. That means he needs to go to the hospital, stay there, needs to go back to the wheelchair. It still can be on the other side of the hip. There is a chance of 10% that he gets it on the other side of the hip. It still can be that the younger one will have that because it's a genetic thing.
Oh, no.
So there's so many still. But I try to be positive. We really did that challenge now as a family, and I think we really came out positive out of it. We are not at the end of the street now. It's still growing back, and we know that he will have a plastic hip at some point, actually. It will happen, for sure. That's what the doctor said. But we don't know if it's with 20, 30, 40, or even earlier. But we can't change it, right? We take it positive.
A plastic hip, not
a replacement of a hip, actually.
Okay,
so
like a prosthetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all this feels so heavy to carry. Has there been moments where you like suddenly look back and said, "Oh, I didn't know I have this strength in myself to do and to go through this"?
Looking back, actually, yes. In this situation, I think not at all. Lots of people came up sometimes, oh my God, how you do that with the 4 kids, right? And the wheelchair and whatever. But I felt like, no, of course, it's my job now, right? So it's really a job, I have to say. Looking back now, sometimes as pictures, if we travel to Australia or in Austria, climbing a mountain with them, still with a wheelchair or whatever, I was like, oh my God, how have you done that? It's crazy sometimes. Looking back now, what we all have done still with all the kids, just to try to keep on going like we have done before. But I think now, as he's not in a wheelchair, it's crazy to see how he looks back, because he sometimes really forgets about that. Just 2 weeks about the situation that we got pictures back from school and whatever that we gave at the beginning. We just got it back, and there was a picture in the wheelchair in Australia, actually, where we have been. And I put them back, and he had it in his hand and said, "Oh, Mom, look how happy I am."
Wow.
And he said that, and I was like, yes, there were so many happy moments during that time, and I hope that we reached our goal. I don't think that he will have that negative in mind when he's a grown up, actually. Let's see. But I think he took it quite positive as well, and he was the fastest guy on crutches. He figured out, okay, swimming is the only thing I'm allowed to do, and we had to get the energy out of that child, actually. We started to swim more and more and more. So he was accepted for the swim team at one point, and now swimming a lot of tournaments for the swim team and for the Swiss club, actually.
Wow.
He just had a tournament last week and had 4 silver
Nothing's
medals.
gonna stop him.
No, so it's not soccer anymore, but
It's
now
swimming
it's
now.
swimming. It's not really his
I
passion.
love that for him, though.
Absolutely. It's not really his passion. It's still soccer, tennis, or whatever. But he's competitive, and it's so nice. And we always explain him, it's like, oh, no one have ever, you couldn't even really swim 2 years ago, right? You could swim, but it was more learning swimming lessons. And now you have gold and silver medals.
Nini, if you were to go back to that moment where you shared you first received that diagnosis, if you can go and whisper something back to that self who first received that, what would you want yourself to hear?
I think I would say, take that challenge, and it will make you and your family stronger. Because now looking back, we cried at the beginning, we were overwhelmed, just not for a long time, but there was these emotions. And I think there will still be emotions if you tell me my other son does have that or whatever, but I think I would take it different now. The life does have challenge for us.
And you feel like you are much better because you have been presented with this.
Absolutely. I feel like I learned a lot the last 2 years from that, and I came out much stronger, not just me, my husband, and the kids as well, even the little one who learned then quite quickly. My brother needs help now, and even if I carried him down sometimes the stairs or whatever, he took his back or stuff like that, right? Because they all quickly learned, okay, we have to help each other.
It's like a wonderful opportunity to teach kindness and caring.
Yes. And even if they complain about situation or whatever, oh my God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to run around the lake or whatever with school. I always said, okay, but be happy that you can, right? And then I think that's things where the kids then think about the different, because it's not just saying it. They have that and they know how it is.
Nini, thank you so much for sharing such an honest and raw piece of your story and your journey of motherhood today. And in other words, if there's one message you would like to leave with mamas who might be just beginning their story, if they've just received the diagnosis and they're walking into the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen as well, what's one thing you want to leave with them?
I think there is no magical formula actually that I can give, because there is no formula. But I would suggest just write your own story. How do you feel it actually? And just write your own story and go your way and try to stay positive. I think that's something that I would suggest to the people. And it might be not always easy, but take the challenge and you will be stronger at the end.
That's so beautiful. Your journey reminds us that even when the unexpected happens, a mama's love for her child will remain steady. And sometimes that will carry us further than we actually think. You've been listening to In Motherhoods, where every mama's story deserves to be heard. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode.